Good evening, and thank you all for joining Marilyn Smith's webinar, Storytelling for Career Advancement, Tell the Stories Hiring Teams Want to Hear, presented by Smith alumnus Ira Koretsky. I'm Allison Schwarz, Executive Director of Alumni Relations at the Smith School, and I'd like to welcome our Marilyn Smith, University of Maryland alumni, current students, faculty and staff, and friends of the university for joining us tonight. We appreciate your time and thank you for choosing Smith for your lifelong learning. I'd like to ask everyone to please keep your microphones on mute to help reduce background noise and to keep your cameras off for now. You can turn them on when we go into the breakout sessions. Ira will be presenting for approximately 30 minutes and will answer some questions throughout his presentation. After that, we'll spend about 15 minutes in small breakout groups before we wrap up. Please post any questions you have in the chat area. Also, I wanted to let everyone know that tonight we are recording the first part of the program so we can post it to the Marilyn Smith website later this week. We will not be recording the work we do in our breakout sessions. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our presenter, Ira Koretsky. Ira has held various leadership roles in marketing and product management. After earning his MBA from the University of Maryland, Ira entered into the world of leading edge technology in the San Francisco and Silicon Valley areas. It is there he started the Chief Storyteller in 2002. Like all good communicators, Ira loves the stage. He performed improvisational humor professionally with Comedy Sports and a career spanning 12 years and more than 1,000 shows. He puts to good use these skills as an adjunct professor at the University of Maryland Robert H. Smith School of Business, where he teaches public speaking, communications, and storytelling. Ira improves your individual and organizational performance through better communication. His specialties are helping you to simplify the complex and to communicate more effectively, especially when the stakes are high. For more than 20 years, he has been a sought-after speaker, delivering more than 500 keynotes and workshops in 11 countries. He is a public speaking and storytelling coach and has had over 40 articles published. He has accelerated success for growing companies to Fortune 50 corporations, nonprofits, charities, and government agencies around the world. I will now turn it over to Ira.
Thank you, Allison. All right. Allison shared sort of the official bio. Just want to share a little bit about me, a little bit more fun photos. I was in the Army back in the way days, back in the 80s. And I was in the Medical Service Corps where I did public affairs, which is the equivalent of marketing. And I was the chief information officer of a hospital out in Monterey. What a lovely, lovely place, about 2 hours south of San Francisco. And all medical personnel spend time at Fort Sam Houston. And I lived there for 6 months and probably did about a dozen different trips. And this picture is from 1989. So just a couple of years ago. I did improv for about 12 years and about 1,000 shows, both here in the DC area and in San Jose. As you can see there, that's me in the middle. And that is just like TV's Whose Lines It Anyway? Because of improv, I was able to do this super, so if you know the phrase B movie stars, you maybe even heard the phrase C movie stars. Well, I was a D commercial star. I got paid $300 for spending a whole day with this commercial that was on indoor soccer cable TV. And if you're one of my students, you get to see this live. Otherwise, it will never see the light of day. Allison mentioned I teach at Maryland. I will be teaching my 6th year. I teach in the fall. And this is 2019. Last year, obviously, was virtual. So this is one of my classes I teach at 9:30 and 11 up at College Park. And then with COVID, I don't know about you, but I found a new love. I've been a very avid photographer since probably like 1987, when I never jumped into close-up photography. And with everybody having to be completely separated, I did. And I'd always has this lens, this wonderful Sony lens. And I started and I jumped in, and my wife's an amazing plant and horticulturist. And she has this garden in our front yard. And so this is one of my favorites. And then this particular one took me about an hour and a half to get the right set of photographs. And if you're familiar with close-up photography, this is called stacking. We put a bunch of photographs together and the computer takes the best parts that are in focus and puts them all together. And you can see how clear it is in the eyes. And if you were to look this up, this particular spider, the northern crab spider, is less than 1/8 of an inch long. So it was just a joy to see this afterward. All right, on to business. So I want to share with you a couple of quick things. I'm going to share with you the link later for the Great Stories Framework. This is online. It's on my website. So you'll be able to access this as much as you'd like. For the next 2 weeks, and I will also share with you how you get this. Anybody that's on the line today and anybody that watches it on the Smith for the next 2 weeks can get a resource guide, which will have a collection of stories in there, articles, tip guides, things to make it easier and in one spot as opposed to having to go on different places like my blog. And then Allison mentioned you, the webinar is recorded. If you remember back to the description said very hands-on. So we're going to start with a very hands-on exercise. So either grab yourself a piece of paper and a pen or your favorite recording device, whether that's a mobile device, a smart device, you're going to use PowerPoint, Word, whatever it is. And what I want you to do right now, and I'm going to give you a minute, is you're going to write down, record, type, however you're going to do this, your answer to either tell me about yourself as if you're sitting on the other side of a hiring manager's question, or what do you do? All right, so what's going to happen is I'm going to give you a 60-second counter, and I'm going to time it down at 15 seconds. And then at 0, I'll say, okay, stop, and then I will move on to the next. So this is going to be on your own. The breakout rooms, as Allison mentioned, are going to be later today. But I want to give you a framework so that as we go through, you can start thinking about how to rethink how you deliver a compelling elevator speech, which I believe is one of the most, if not the most part of having a career tool. All right, ready, go. Let me push that back. So that's 45 seconds. $30 seconds. Okay, about 15 seconds remaining. Okay, start wrapping up. All right, so you don't have to finish. I just want to get you guys starting. And some of you, especially my left brain friends here on the call, you're going to take time. And I know this. I've been doing this, as Allison mentioned, many years around the country, around the world. And I know there's really kind of like two types of learners when it comes to webinars like this. The people that are going to start working on it right away. And then there are people that are going to take 1 to 2 days for things to start to percolate and for you to have ideas. Because we have a webinar, those people that require usually the 1 or 2 days to think about things, you're going to have to jump right in and deal with the live interaction and do your best. And one of the recommendations that I'll share with you now and later is you're making friends. We're all Smith and certainly all Terps, and create a little network right here that you can help each other with and create your own little networking group for yourself to help with job hunting. All right. So to frame our thinking, I've boiled down, I believe, job hunting, career advancement into 4 big steps. In each of the boxes are the key activities or key items as part of who you are that you're going to represent to your prospective hiring company. WOM, bottom left first column, that's word of mouth. And in action, the in quotes item about midway under number 2 is your prospective hiring company might actually ask you to do something. Like I was asked to describe one time when I interviewed years ago, how I would run a particular department and what I would do in the first month. So that's not just a simple question. They're actually asking me to think. Sometimes engineers are asked to dissect code or to fix something, never know. So it just depends on where you are in your career and what the company is. So these are the kind of the big things that I want you to think about. And if you start to compartmentalize or kind of bucket them or categorize, whatever you're going to do, I think it will help you think about how you move along the job hunting career advancement process so that you know what to share and when. Because in the end, no matter what happens, you're in control of what happens, right? So when this webinar is over, what are you going to do? I can recommend to you all sorts of ideas and give you new things to do. but you have to decide what you're going to be known for, only you. You get all sorts of advice, but you have to decide, because when you ask for a referral, for example, or you ask for a testimonial, people have to know who you are and what you want to be. Some of you don't know yet, so maybe actually you might want to be two different perspectives. Super quick story. Years ago, when I was finishing my MBA, a friend of mine introduced me to one of his mentors. And I told the gentleman I could be a project manager, a product manager, or somebody that did marketing communications. So I could have fit any one of those three because my skill set fit any one of those three. So I had a separate set of resumes and cover letters, all designed based on what the right company and the right fit for me was. So you don't have to have one perfect resume. So what I want to do is talk to you about these 5 big areas tonight. First one we'll jump into, as you can see in orange, is why storytelling, and then we'll move. And then after the hands-on breakout session, I'm going to give you some specific suggestions. I mentioned to you the link to the stories, and I'll also tell you how you can get the resource guide. All right, why storytelling? Super high level, super quick. Science of storytelling. Back about 150 years, Dr. Wernicke, the one on the left, and Dr. Broca independently identified these 2 key areas of your brain related to, as you can see, understanding and communicating. No one, not one single researcher, whatever you want to call them, scientists, has ever denied that these 2 things are true. So there's 2 ability areas that you have to activate. The more recent years, 30, 40, 10 last year, this is what they're showing, is that stories have the ability to really light up your brain, awaken the senses. You'll see the senses: touch, taste, hearing, smell. How about the heart, right? Isn't that what a story really is about? Stories fuel relationships. They build relationships. Think about the day think about this. You have a best friend, right? Real or imaginary? The day you met that best friend, he or she absolutely, unequivocally was a stranger. Has to be. Over time, you built a great relationship because of experiences, generally shared in the form of stories. In the green are the organic chemicals that we have in our body that stimulate various parts of the body and have these particular effects, as you can see underneath each of these. So that's what I really want to encourage you to think about, and why. So if you're not a storyteller today, I want you to think about how you can start telling more stories. Now, an elevator speech is just one part of your storytelling repertoire, but it's the stories on how you answer the various bullets on your resume, how you address issues that are explained in your LinkedIn profile or cover page. Dr. Medina, I love this book. I love this phrase. Don't think of this as a reflection of what you say necessarily. What I mean by that is, what I find interesting, like say, for example, macro photography, you may not. So that particular photography may be boring to you, and that's completely okay, because you have to find commonalities. And that's why you may not get a job, or you may get hired over somebody else, because you have to make sure there's a best fit. And so what Dr. Medina's point is that we're not paying attention to boring things because people don't make what they say interesting and relevant, both to the heart and the mind. So that's the thing, whether it's your elevator speech. I mean, think about it. How many elevator speeches have you ever heard that excite you to the point where you're just jumping out of your shoes to go, yes, tell me more? And that's what I want to encourage you to think about, is how to get to that point. And in my class, for example, we spend the first 3 weeks just focusing on how to make your messages in your elevator speech powerful so that people do pay attention. Think of it in this kind of context. It's linear. You have your memories. Experiences become stories, right? Messages, those are the specific ideas that you have in your story to communicate an idea so that in the end you inspire action. What's that action? Another interview, a first interview, an opportunity to meet, an opportunity to come in, or the best one, which would be an offer letter. So that's the kind of thinking that I want you to have about stories and words. I may use the word narrative. That's just another word for story. So let me share with you now 3 of my favorite pillars as they relate to careers. I have about 30. These are my 3 favorite, and I think they're applicable to everybody here today. This is the difference between an okay story and a fabulous story. In business, and even if you're a nonprofit professional or government professional, I want you to think of it, I use the word business. Frame everything around a problem, because that's what people are hiring you for, right? Think about this. If you're sitting on the other side, proverbially, whether it's on a Zoom or whatever, they're hiring you for a reason. You're solving a marketing problem, an ops problem, a finance problem, a strategy problem, a product, whatever it is, whatever your specialty is. That's why you're getting hired. You're literally a peg that's going to go into the puzzle piece board, because that's what they need. So companies hire on potential to help them make sure they're solving the problem, so that the stories that you share, the narrative, everything you do should be focused on solving their problem. One of the biggest complaints about storytelling is that they're boring. And that goes back to Dr. Medina's comment. I've had so many, so I do a lot of coaching and I do a lot of consulting and training. Allison mentioned that. And no matter where it is, whether it's worldwide, doesn't matter. People say, I suck at storytelling. And I always remind them, it's probably because you don't have a clear message. You're also not well under 3 minutes. So a good business story frame of mind is about 450 words. We speak on average about 150 words per minute. Do the math. 3 minutes times 150, or 3 times 150, it's about 450. If you're a faster talker, you're going to have maybe a few more words. If you take your time and you're a little bit slower, then you're going to be on the lower end, right? Stories are highly edited. And one of my other pillars is edit ruthlessly, ruthlessly. That's the only way to make sure that you are never considered boring. So today, as I was preparing, I always check my news. I have different resources that I go all over the internet. And I found this very interesting thing. There's a children's book coming out on Dr. Fauci. And I thought it was really fascinating, not the book in and of itself, because, I might actually read the child's book as I come to think about it, because I'm fascinated about Dr. Fauci, who's served, by the way, for 7 different presidents in NIH. And this is what the interviewer on CNN had come across when he was talking with Kate Messner, the author. Read this for a second. Look how much you can glean from this in just a few words. And the biggest effect that really touched me was the last sentence, or where you see the last dash. The young people will see themselves in the pages and set their goals just as high. That's your job, ladies and gentlemen, as storytellers, as problem solvers, is to invite us into your experiences so that you can create the action that you want. So let's talk about what I call the Better Tomorrow message. You may hear it as a hook. You may hear it as a value proposition, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter to me. I call it, my branding statement is Better Tomorrow message. You might also hear me say BTM. So this is what I spend probably 10 weeks on in my class, and it becomes part of their final grade, which is a TED Talk, 5-minute TED Talk, is the Better Tomorrow message. It has to be clear, has to be compelling, has to be memorable. And one of the resources that I'll give you, and it's in the resources guide, is a whole host of stories that have wonderful Better Tomorrow messages, and you're going to work on yours in just a moment. So let's talk about the Better Tomorrow message and how to rethink how you communicate. Love this. Have you ever heard the phrase, sell the sizzle, not the steak? Came from Elmer Wheeler many, many years ago. One of my mentors, Gerhard, told me about Elmer Wheeler, didn't know about him many years ago. I found out that he had a record. This is an actual picture that I have of the record that I own. And I mailed Gerhard, the mentor of mine, one of his own very own copies. And he said it was one of the most thoughtful gifts he's ever gotten, because I listened to who he was and what he liked, and I found a special gift, just as a little tip if you're doing a gift. So it's your 10 words. And let me illustrate this through an example. When I was doing a keynote to hospital healthcare risk consultant risk managers, I don't remember, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, I always do these pre-interviews before I do my big program. So this was a keynote to about 1,200 people. I was doing the closing keynote. It was all about building relationships, telling your story so that you can be more effective as a risk consultant and risk manager. This is Michelle, not exactly Michelle, but I found a picture that would be representative of her. Keep in mind that she's 5 feet tall, important for the story. Unfortunately, as a risk consultant in a hospital, she's a finger pointer. Michelle will get a nice, big, thick folder when a patient has a very bad experience. And it's her job to figure out, is it a people issue, a process issue, or a technology issue? Unfortunately, it's almost always a people issue because medicine is not a science. There's always some ambiguity in there. At 14 minutes and 38 seconds, I'm about to wrap up the interview. This is what Michelle said to me. I make a difference in patients' lives every day. How powerful is that? Does that not touch your heart? Does that not make you think? Does that not make you want to go, tell me more, Michelle? Because now she is no longer the finger pointer. So when she used to walk down the hallway, 6-foot+ male doctors who normally fear nothing would smile at her because of not her finger waggle anymore, but because of her mission. And this is how we put it into practice, folks. I typed in marketing communications yesterday. 9 million+ results. I made sure I only selected third-person connections. That way I didn't know any of them. I removed their names, so you can't see them, but there's not one single, this is the first page on my LinkedIn search, there's not one person that has a better tomorrow message. What they have is a simple title. To illustrate, these are my 3 TAs from last year's class. I did also yesterday because I wanted to prove the point. They still have their better tomorrow messages in their LinkedIn profiles. There's Vanessa. There's Joe. Joe also was also an intern of mine. And then the last one is Jake, inspiring action. That's young people. Those of you that are more mature in your career. Joe attended a presentation I did at the Financial Executives International years ago. I think it was in New Jersey. And then we met up in person because he's local. We sat and had lunch and I helped him with his Better Tomorrow message. He changed it to, as you can see, he's a CFO. He had that. He got an email from a CEO. And from there, 13 years later, I think it was about 13 years, he was the CFO and he grew with that company simply because the professional headline was a Better Tomorrow message. So what I want you to do now is you're going to take your elevator speech that you had already started, and I want you to either on top or the bottom, or however you want to do it, you're going to write out as many Better Tomorrow messages as you can in 2 minutes. And here's how I'm going to give you the guidance. I'm going to show you these 3 slides and I'm going to alternate them every 15 seconds. So these are the questions you're thinking about in your head. You're going to keep your Better Tomorrow message to 10 words or less. Here's the suggestion I am. I'm going to show you verbs. So I'm going to rotate, as I mentioned, 15 seconds. I'll show you some verbs. And then the next 15 seconds, I will show you some examples. And as I mentioned, I will have examples in the resource guide. So just like we did in the elevator speech exercise, I'm going to have you count down. And then after the countdown, I'm going to alternate these slides. All right. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Take either your pen or whatever device you're using to record your answers, type your answers. All right. Do as many Better Tomorrow messages as you can. Don't self-edit. Just create, be creative as much as you can. Okay, go. Okay, about 1.5 minutes. Okay, that's about 1 minute. Okay, about 30 seconds remain. All right, start wrapping up. All right, so now you have some Better Tomorrow messages. Even if you have one, you had one more than you had yesterday, and I guarantee you, the majority of you, if not all of you, have the equivalent of I'm a risk consultant as the start of your elevator speech prior to working on your Better Tomorrow message. And of all the things that I'm sharing to you today, this is the key concept. This is the anchor to everything else that you do. And that's what I mean by the system of credibility, and that's where I mean the anchor part. The Better Tomorrow message is the center of your career tools. I use the exact same tool when it comes to marketing, and I change the various elements that are on here. So the Better Tomorrow message is in the center, and then I consider the next area as the first circle, the primary source of tools that you have that are going to communicate, whether you're directly communicating or something like passively communicating on your behalf, which would be like YouTube or LinkedIn or Twitter or anything like that. So the thing is, you have to decide what's the first or the primary source of tools that you're going to use to promote your system of credibility. And then you would move around these elements. So it could be in the second circle or the first circle. It just depends. The point is that you should know what your system of credibility is doing for you. Is it helping? Is it neutral? Or is it hurting? So for example, if you've got an old picture of yourself on LinkedIn, or your LinkedIn profile has pretty much no information other than a job title, recruiters can't find you because they can't search for words that are in your profile. And people don't realize this. I always poo-pooed skills because I own my own company. Who cares about my skills? But people do look up skills. But for me, not so important. For people that are looking for opportunities, looking for jobs, you want those skills because recruiters do searches on those skills. So now let's put the system of credibility into play. First, we're going to talk about the elevator pitch a little bit more detail. So I want to share with you an example before. Let me let you read this, and then I want you to think about this and think about, does this inspire you to say, I want to know more? I have no doubt this person was excited to be considered for this position. The language doesn't show me that they were passionate, excited, that they did their homework. So after working with them, we figured out together, that their Better Tomorrow message was about building relationships. So you have these very powerful metaphor, driving force in building relationships. They explain what they do, and they offer a success story, past performance. So if you think about your resume and your accomplishments today, that's how you end, and where you can customize them and make them tailored specific to the organization you're about to join. Remember, you're solving a problem they are looking for. Now, I don't want you to read this example. I just want you to look at the orange. The point is, too many people leave the best for the end. What you want to do is bring it to the front. So now this is the blue. I blend strategy and creativity to drive results. Everywhere you see brackets was my notes back to this person. Think about an accomplishment when you're sharing this. Think about an accomplishment. And I ask them, is this guerrilla marketing, right? So you want to think about how to articulate. Now, this is also a much longer version than an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch in general should be no more than 80, 85 words, 30 seconds. Remember, 150 words per minute is what we speak on average. So it's about 85 words. When somebody asks you more questions, then you add and articulate. And usually what they want are examples. So here's some suggestions. This particular putting it all together will also be in the resource guide for you, but you're looking at step 1. Better Tomorrow messages are about 10 words. Step 2, you want to add detail. Generally, it's very much what you already say in your elevator pitch. And then step 3, this is what most people miss, is the success stories. If you're new and you're a recent graduate, then you want to talk about the future potential of what you would do. So you might give an example from what you did as a project work. Keep in mind, a hiring manager, if you're 20-ish, 2021, and you're a new graduate, he or she's going to know you're not going to have a lot of experience. So what they want to know is your potential. So you want to show them what you did in school. Hopefully you had an internship, and you want to be able to share with them and make it comparable the problems that you solved in school or at the internship, and how you're going to do the same kind of great work. Okay, so what I want you to do now is go back to your elevator speech. And I want you to edit it as best as you can, thinking about problems that you're solving. What do you want people to know about you? Potentially picking a better tomorrow message. This is the last time you're going to edit this, and this is the version that you're going to best share in our breakout rooms in a couple of minutes. I'm going to give you a minute to do this. Just like we did, we're going to have a countdown timer. Okay, go. Okay, about 30 seconds. About 15. All right, start wrapping up. All right, just remember, I'm not expecting you to be finished. Don't worry about it. This webinar is designed to give you momentum and give you tools so you can start this great process. Let's talk about the second item that was listed in the description of the workshop, LinkedIn. So here's a copy of mine. If you have not looked at your LinkedIn profile in a while, brush it off, dust it off. It's time to look. Does your picture support your message? I want to be a speaker. I want to be a trainer. I want to be known for that. So that's what I have in the background. Is your picture up to date? Do you have your professional headline with your messages? I also have mine with keywords: speaker, coach, trainer, veteran. In my about section, something that very few people do, I have a personal story, something you might want to think about. Not telling you you have to, but you do want content in there. That's the second most read spot. Professional headline is first, the about us is second. The point that I want to make with this is the professional headline gets cut off around 80 words. You'll notice there's 3 dots. So you have to figure out where your stops, and you want to make sure it communicates what you want it to communicate. So Dave works for me and Dwayne used to, so that's why I picked them. So take a look at your LinkedIn profile. Does it communicate what you want it to communicate? Personal stories. These are the stories that you either share, such as the elevator speech, or tell me about yourself, as well as all of the accomplishments that are generally going to be asked of you in a typical resume, right? Describe a time when you did this. How would you respond to this? Some of them are very specific, some are case studies, some are experiential. You have to know what the employer is looking for. If you can, and you're comfortable with your LinkedIn, put it in there in your top. That adds to your system of credibility. You will rarely see this, your professional headline or your Better Tomorrow message at the top of a resume. I'm suggesting this, or at least think about it, because no one else does it. So if you want to be traditional, leave it off. But if you want to think about separating yourself from the pack, consider putting that on your resume. If you have your highlights, I would strongly suggest no more than 2 lines, not sentences, 2 lines. 1 is even better, and it takes a lot of time. Solve their problems. And then inside your resume and your LinkedIn, and when you're interviewing, you want to tell stories that have Q and Q. They have qualifying information and quantifying wherever you can. How many people did you support? How many systems did you deploy? How many lines of code? How did you improve this process? Blah, blah, blah. You have to figure that out. Here's a general rubric for telling your story. 30 to 45 seconds, as you can see, standard storytelling. What makes my process different is that you end with your Better Tomorrow message. You end with how you're going to solve their problem in a memorable way that evokes an emotion, so that they're saying, tell me more. There's 20 story examples plus. It's probably like 24 now, always adding more. And this is one of the things that will be in the resource examples.